Welcome everyone to our webinar today, and today is all about confidence. So I'm actually hoping that everyone can actually hear me. So just to get a sense that everyone can see me and everyone can hear me, can you just pop into the chat? Yes, fantastic, Nathan. Thank you very much for letting me know that you can actually hear me. And thank you, Rebecca and Rachel and Darren and Evan and lots of names there, and Anetta and Rebecca and Mike. Fantastic. Awesome. So I'm going to continue the webinar. I'm not going to focus too much on the chat area. I will jump to it every now and then if you have any questions or anything that you'd like to add as I go. I have aimed with this webinar to go as deep as I possibly can. I really believe that in the terms of confidence, a lot of people have really got confidence wrong. And as a result of that, what is actually happening is they're not being able to be the best version of themselves. And that's really what I want to cover today. But if I can just go back a step before I begin showing you the content for today, many, many years ago, and this is way before I learned neuro-linguistic programming and coaching and all of that, um, my life sucked. It really, really did. I had in the realm of confidence, I never had much at all. In fact, I was anxious, I was depressed, I was really stuck in my reality. I basically believed that confidence was all about your skill and what people said about you, and I got it so wrong. I got it so wrong. Now, I remember I've got a book in front of me and I want to share it with you. It's called Destiny. Now, this book I use in coaching a lot, and I open this up. Now, basically how it works is you open up the book, and what it's got all these birth dates at the beginning. So it basically works on astrology, what is it, personology, and I opened it up to my birth date, and what it said that my way is what's called the way of confidence. And I remember I opened it up in private, so there's no one around. I'm looking at it, and frankly, I cried when I read what was on in this book. And that was that it's told me that when I found confidence in my life, in my world, that what would happen as a result is my whole world would open up, and great things would happen. And so as a result of that, I decided and declared that I would do everything I possibly could to build and find confidence in my life. And so as a result, I'm just going to turn on an extra light here. No, actually, my lights aren't on. That's okay. You can see me, and that's good. So what I did is I declared that I was going to do everything I possibly could to build confidence in my life. So that led me on a very long journey. I did lots of courses, read lots of books, and frankly, I was depressed and anxious and all of those things as I shared before. And as a result of that, I wasn't being the best version of myself. And I was angry a lot of the time. And I was definitely sad a lot of the time. And so I wanted to really find, how do you build confidence? Like, how do you actually, if you don't have confidence, if you have a lot of history in your life where your life sucked, or there were lots of negative events in your life, how do you change that? And of course, the big place where much changed so dramatically was learning neuro-linguistic programming. And many of you that here know my journey, know my history. And NLP really was a game changer for me. So this book, and I'll hold it up there so you can see the actual book if you ever want to get a copy of it. It's an interesting book, but so it's called The Secret Language of Destiny. And as a result of that, what I actually found was I found a lot about myself. I understood myself to a greater degree. And since then, I found NLP. And as many of you know, I've been coaching, I've been teaching linguistic programming, I've been writing books. I am very passionate about humanity. I really want to make a big, big, big difference in the world in helping many people to begin to realize their talents, their skills, their abilities, because when they do, they go out and they help other people. Now, if we're going to survive as a humanity, the first thing that we really have to get is we have to help one another. And the way to do that, or well, my way that I found to do that is to go into the coaching space and into the training space. And it's the very reason I'm doing this webinar right now. I really want to help you find your confidence, because when you do, you become the best version of yourself and you go out and you help other people. So that's why I'm doing this. And so I'm going to share my slides, and so you can begin to get a good sense of this. Actually, I won't share my slides first. I've just got to quickly copy something because I'm going to put this in the chat for you. And I won't do it now, but a little bit later on, I'm going to do exactly that. I'll pop some things in the chat for you, which are some more resources. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my slides. So you should right now see the art and science of super confidence. And I'm going to put that into slideshow mode so we can begin our webinar. So what I'm also going to do is I'm just going to pop the chat up there. I just want to make sure, can everyone see my slides at the moment? Can, someone just say, yep. Oh, good. Awesome. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Richard and Justin. Oh, there's a lot of familiar names there. Hello, everyone. It's awesome to see you today. Okay, so let me begin by jumping into my talk today, my webinar, which is the art and the science of super confidence. And so the first thing that I want to say is if you stay until the end, what I'll do is I'll give you all the slides. So do take notes, do feel free to take notes, but do understand that you don't have to write anything down that I've got on the slides, because I can give those to you at the end. This is one of those webinars that I really want you to listen to, because the words that I'm going to be sharing in here are really, really important. And what I'm aiming to do is kind of build on some knowledge so that you can really understand what confidence is actually all about. So do feel free to stay at the end. I'm going to give you the slides. So I'll give you all of the slides. And plus, what I'm also going to do, and because we've turned 20, yes, Life Beyond Limits, you might notice that I have certainly aged. So has the business Life Beyond Limits. We are now 20 years old. And we did something recently where we gave away a whole bunch of prizes, and we gave away some scholarships to people. And it was so successful. It's helped so many people that what we've decided is we're actually going to continue the scholarships, and we're going to give everyone here, if you want it, you don't have to take it, but we're going to give people a $3,000 training or coaching gift voucher if you stay to the end. I know it's our bribe, but essentially it's there for you if you want it. And what I really hope that you want more, even more than that, is the actual content for today. So let me get stuck into the content, and I'll show you how to claim your voucher at the very, very end. So these are the outcomes that I really want to focus on today. Is I'm going to talk about the 10 signs of real confidence, because if we're going to talk about confidence, we really want to know what is confidence? Like what are the real indicators of confidence? So I'm going to talk about the 10 signs of confidence. I'm also going to talk about the top 4 reasons people lack confidence. Now, where this comes from, this actually comes from our own internal research that we've now been doing for 20 years. We've been doing a huge amount of research in this particular space. And why is our measure of confidence misaligned? And I think a lot of people don't think they've got confidence because it's absolutely misaligned. And why are people madly moving out of confidence? Sadly, this is true. Confidence is diminishing globally. And I'll give you the reasons for that and how to stop eroding it and the steps to increase and actually solidify your confidence. So, if you stay to the end, of course, I'll give you your $3,000 gift voucher and the slides. So, a little bit about me if you don't know who I am. Basically, from 2002 to 2020, I've studied coaching, NLP, EFT, metaphysics, clean language, reset, hypnosis, a whole host of things over the years. And the reason is I wanted to be really, really, really a good coach and a good trainer. And so I wanted to go deep and I wanted to study. I've been studying now since 2002, and I will not stop studying. I love this space and I love learning. In 2023 and 2024, I won the APAC International Award for Transformational Coach. And I've done 38,000 hours of transformational work. That number is probably bigger now. We calculate it every year. Our team sit back and they do all my hours. So I've done now 38,000 plus hours of transformational work. I'm a brain untrainer with Life Beyond Limits, and I coach coaches and leaders. And the topic quite often is confidence, how to begin to build their confidence so that they can do great work in the world. I'm a multiple best-selling author of quite a number of books. And if you look at the themes, you'll get a sense that they're all about the mindset space, beliefs, courage. Of course, The Life Coach Millionaires was a book that I wrote for coaches to help them to become better coaches and get themselves out there. A Richer Way to Think is actually a version of Life Beyond Limits, a revised version, and 5x5 to Thrive was all about being productive, in your life. So that's a little bit about me. So you get a sense of who I am. And of course, I gave you a little bit of an idea at the very beginning of today. So what I want to talk about, and this is by the way, this is Liverpool, the Liverpool Soccer Club. And the question that I want to start off is, does confidence need perfection? Do we have to start with a silver spoon in our mouths? Do we have to start with great parenting? Do we have to start with, anything major in our lives to a level of perfection in order to have confidence? Well, this particular individual that I'm going to talk about, when he was born in 1940, he had bombs literally falling around the hospital. You can only imagine the trauma that his mother and father would have felt when she was giving birth to this man. And his merchant marine father wasn't even there. It was only his mother. And Julia, his mum, actually couldn't mother him. She was so traumatized. I know it's very easy to criticize her, but the thing that we have to respect and understand was that she couldn't mother him because she was traumatized, because she was living in a war zone. So she ended up giving him away to his Uncle George and his Aunt Mimi. And at 16, his mother died, like she was hit by a car. And some of you might even know who I'm talking about. I've given quite a lot away. He was dyslexic, so as a result, he wasn't a great student. His grades were really, really poor. He loved music, but he was discouraged from going down that path. They said, "Who makes money on music? Don't go down there. Don't do it." And in 1965, he wrote a song that the lyrics said, "Help me if you can, I'm feeling down." And you might get a sense that we're talking about John Lennon. So by 1980, John had developed his own brand of confidence, but he had everything working against him. And so what I'm saying here is you don't have to have a perfect life to build a level of confidence. We all know what John Lennon did when he got to his level of confidence. He started to create a peace movement. He was really campaigning against war. He was born in war. He fought against war, and he was actually going to be deported because he said a very dangerous thing. He quoted Berholt, who said, "What if we have a war and no one shows up?" A very powerful statement to come out from a person who was well regarded in the world, to the degree that Richard Nixon wanted him out of New York, wanted to actually deport him because he said, what a dangerous comment. What if we need to have a war and everyone agrees with John Lennon and doesn't show up? So this is the power of confidence. And John Lennon was a very, very confident guy. Love him or hate him, regardless, he was a very, very confident man in the end, and confident enough, to protest against war and come out with a very powerful peace, many peace statements. So, what is confidence? So let's get a sense of that. So here I'm going to share, just in bullet point form, what essentially are the 10 signs of real confidence. So they are: don't shift responsibility to others. Take on responsibility, be response able. Regardless of what's going on in your world, be able to own what is happening, be it good or be it bad. And don't be afraid of silence. The big thing that we have to be able to do is say nothing at times, instead of constantly speaking. The other is smile when you really mean it. Don't smile when you don't mean to smile. Now, that one was me. I used to smile when I was uncomfortable a lot of the time. And as a result of that, I was smiling often at perpetrators, smiling at people who were doing the wrong thing, and a smile sometimes shows a level of agreeance. The other is don't seek approval from others. Sure, I know that naturally we want to be approved by others, but if you constantly have to seek approval from others, it's meaning that you are giving your power away to everybody else and you don't hold the power within yourself. Be able to show your weaknesses. Let me give you a classic example of that one. Just before this webinar, I was coaching a lovely man who currently has depression. Now, I have been coaching people with depression for so many years. I've also trained a lot of coaches who go out there and help people get out of depression. And the way to get out of depression is to be vulnerable. You have to show your weaknesses at first. You have to go into the places that cause the depression in order for the depression to go. So confidence is about ability to show your weaknesses, and you accept others for who they are. So rather than I think a big weakness is judgment, when we're constantly judging people, going, you're wrong, you're terrible, you're weak, you're this, you're that. And we can't keep judging people. We've got to allow people to be able to evolve themselves, and judgment's not going to help them evolve one iota. And you're not afraid to fail. Failure is a key and critical point of success. It really, really is. I have done so many stupid things in my business, in my life, in so many different areas, and I have failed. But in truth, I don't really believe in failure. I actually believe that signs of failure are actually just showing you what's not working, and opportunity to learn, and opportunity to change. And the eighth point is you're able to love yourself, regardless. You know, at the end of the day, I am not the best looking man. I am not the youngest man. I am not the smartest man, but I do love myself. I love what I do. I love how much I care. I love how much I study. I love how much I am willing to help other people. I love my love for humanity. I love myself. And, remember once upon a time when loving yourself was definitely a thing that you don't do. Now, of course, we've come to realize how important it is in the realm of confidence. And you know who you are and what you want. And I think the thing that I'll often share when I do talks is I'll often say the two questions that most people struggle to answer is who am I and what do I want? And so that goes to show there's a lot of people that really don't have confidence in themselves. And the final one is you're willing to go after your goals. You're willing to go, here are my goals, and I'm willing to do what it takes to actually achieve it. So this is just to give you a bit of a sense, if you really have confidence, you'd be a tick on, or actually, sorry, a cross on most of these. If you don't have confidence, then some of these things would definitely apply to you. So the thing that we have to get a sense of, and if we look statistically, by the way, there's so much statistics on this because there's so many elements of confidence, but it's suggested that 59% of adults worldwide actually claim to be confident in themselves and their abilities. So it's over half, which is awesome, but just over because 41% equally worldwide are not confident. And I coach executives, I coach leaders, I coach lots of people who are out there, in the public domain. And many of them I'm coaching to build their confidence, because they're not as confident as they want to be or need to be. Now, one of the things that really killed confidence was COVID. COVID basically saw a massive loss of certainty and a loss of faith in leadership in the world globally. And what we also saw was, as a result of that, is we saw a spike in anxiety and depression, which are really confidence's cancer. So, according to Statistica, what actually happened is symptoms of anxiety or depressive disorders went from a global standard of about 11% in 2019, April 2019. It skyrocketed. In April 2020, it jumped to 36%, more than three times. And it's been falling ever since, thankfully. In April 2022, it dropped a little bit to 31%. In April 2024, it went down to 21%, but it's still more than a doubling. So, according to Roger Wilkins, he said we've seen a doubling of diagnosed depression and anxiety amongst people, particularly in the age group of under 35. So, much of the work that I do and our team and our coaches is all about helping to change this statistic. So confidence, one of the things that we have to understand is the real key to it is language. It's what we say in our heads, it's what we say out loud. But there's a lot of misnomers in the context of language. So, for example, one thing that I found in my research is that we too easily accept that our language changes over time. But when we alter language, we actually alter our history and we alter the future. And I'm talking about the meaning of our language. The question you might be asking is who changes it and why? And that's a whole other webinar, and I'm not going there. But when we look at confidence, now this is the accepted meaning of confidence. It's a noun, the feeling or belief that one can have faith in or rely on someone or something. Now, if we accept this as the meaning of confidence, then what we're really saying is that confidence is external validation. Let me go a little bit deeper to give you some sense of this. So if we look now, confidence comes from the Latin con, to persuade or convince, and fide, to have faith. So it actually comes from the word confidere, which is a Latin word, which is con, with, and fidere, trust. So, which is trust within. That's the original meaning of confidence. It's actually internal validation, not external validation. So the question is, why did the meaning of confidence change from being essentially a verb, which is an action, to a noun? Because the truth is, you can change action, but it is very difficult to change a person, place, or thing, a noun. So somewhere in our meaning, we've gone from confidence going from a verb, an action, a behavior, to becoming a thing. So it's gone from something that we do to something that we are. And this is where I think confidence has completely been misrepresented. So, sure, I know I'm being a stickler, but words are important. As an NLP master trainer and a brain on trainer, our words really do mean things to us. If we say words, what we have to understand is that words have meaning. So our confidence misalignment is that a lot of people base their confidence on their job, external, okay? And I'm sure you get this. A lot of people think that when I am, basically when I get that job, then I'll be confident. Or when I make that money, I'll be confident. Or when I get that house or that big house or that house in that street or that house in that suburb, I'll be confident. Or when I get up in my job, I'll be confident. Or when I get those great, wonderful, expensive clothes, I'll be confident. Or when I shape my body a particular way, I'll be confident. Now, this is why people who lose things lose confidence. People who lose their job all of a sudden lose their confidence. People who lose their house or don't get to that house they want, they lose the confidence. Or if they don't get the job or they don't get the body or they don't get the possessions, they lose confidence. This is also a massive reason why people, when they retire and they lose their job, in other words, they've gone from working to now not working at all, die. They die fairly soon after they retire because they have no more purpose. Because all of their purpose, all of their confidence is wrapped up in the external. And confidence is not external. And this is why true confidence actually is internal. It's within you. If you want confidence, stop measuring confidence on all of the external things. One thing that I've certainly found in coaching people who are at a really high level over the years, I've coached high level Fortune 500 executives. I've coached movie stars, superstars, elite athletes. I've coached rock stars. And the thing that I've started to realize, like the first thing you've got to get over is, working with someone who's famous, because quite often what you do is you can be a bit struck, that you're, oh my God, I'm working with this famous rock star, this famous celebrity. The thing that I've found working with people like that is quite often you're sitting with them and you're in a sacred coaching space. So everything is confidential and famous people get you to sign your life away. But the thing that you start to discover is that they may be up there, got the great job or high in the hierarchy or got the multi-million dollar homes or, they've got the incredible body or, all of those sorts of things. But the thing that really knocks their feet out from under them is when they go into peers. Like typically my coaching starts to get quite full around the Oscars, around the Logies, around the Brownlow medal. When people of high caliber are mixing with other people of high caliber, their confidence diminishes. And it's because it's external. So the thing that we've got to do if we want to build our confidence is we've got to stop measuring our confidence off the external and start measuring it on the internal. And I know that, many people can say, oh, yeah, I know this. You've got to calibrate yourself upon who you are today and who you want to be tomorrow. And that makes a lot of logical sense, but confidence is not logic. Confidence is unconscious. Confidence is feeling. Confidence is inside of us. And so, therefore, what we have to do is we know we go on a bit of a roller coaster as well. So, even though I'm saying we've got to measure it on the internal, we have to understand that our internals go up and down on a bit of a roller coaster ride. So, let's change it. So, the first thing that I want to share in the space of language is language often becomes our stories and our themes that erode confidence. So, many of us speak in metaphorical ways. Now, I don't know about you, but I love stories. But, be they metaphors, personifications, similes, hyperbole, symbolism, idioms, onomatopoeia, whatever we're doing, like we're turning our experiences into fictional or symbolic elements, what we have to understand is our stories actually pave our destined paths. In other words, the stories that we keep telling ourselves become our reality because we turn into those victims versus heroes. And the most important thing that we have to understand is that we do this unconsciously. So when we think about it, TV, besides lowering income potential, horror, news, current affair train our brain to be fearful. So, sure, it's okay to watch a horror movie. It's okay to watch the news. It's okay to watch current affair. But we have to understand what is the influence of that external actually doing to the internal. And what it essentially does is it trains our brain to be negative. So we might think news, for example, keeps us informed, but we pay a price for allowing that negativity into our lives. In fact, I remember when I was researching for one of my books, I discovered that the more television people watch, it's in direct proportion to their income. In other words, the more TV, the lower your income. So, people who are really, really poor, like they'll watch 8 hours of TV a day. While most people are working in a job for 8 hours a day, they're watching TV for 8 hours a day. And so that affects them. So you've got to think about your environment. Think about it as training your brain. What are you training it to do? Today, early this morning, for example, I was training one of my clients to be more courageous because that was the thing that was really stopping her from really achieving the great things in her life. She had trained her brain to be fearful and scared. So she wasn't achieving in her career and she wasn't achieving in her relationships and she wasn't achieving in so many areas because she trained her brain to be like that. So I hope this is making some sense. So the thing that we have to understand is we come to believe our stories. So in other words, we tell ourselves and other people's stories all the time without consciously realizing it. Let me give you some examples of this. Every sentence, every sentence you say or think has meaning and feeling. But the truth of the matter is your brain must experience your words. So If you keep saying the word, I'm really sad about that, or that makes me feel sad, your brain has to experience sad. So it's going to go into your nervous system and it's going to start leaching hormones into your body that's actually going to cause you to start feeling sad. So the thing that we have to understand is the words that we say have actual meaning. Even the words we don't say, like the negative noise in our head, actually affects us in a major, major way. And people get into patterns. The example that I gave you, the gentleman who I was coaching today with depression, he's just got patterns in his head that are so many sad stories that they're prevailing his biochemistry in his body and therefore how he's feeling on a daily basis. Now, as a coach, I've got to keep getting those things out of his head and giving him new ways to think in order to change that pattern. And, that takes some work. So the thing that we have to do consciously is be very careful about what we say, because what we say, we're going to feel it and it's going to go into our biochemistry. So, warning, the examples I'm about to use come from intelligent, rational people. So, our job is not to judge them here. These are very rational people, very logical people, but confidence is an internal feeling. It's not rational, it's unconscious. Think about confidence in the realm of a phobia. Now, you can have grown, intellectual, very smart, very wise, very evolved adults that walk into a room, see a spider on the wall, and scream and run out the door. These are very logical people. These are very rational people. But a phobia is not rational. A phobia is a tightly wound neurological connection that creates a specific outcome that gets a specific result. So it's unconscious, it's feeling, it's irrational. So that's the thing that we have to understand. We've got to stop judging people. People are just working off their programs, and we don't know the history. We don't know what their world was like when they were first born or, in their early childhood. I guarantee you, if you're a coach right now, I know there's a lot of coaches here, every time you're coaching people, how often are you going back to when they were 5 years old or 6 years old or 7 years old and something minor happened that became a major barrier to their success? So, metaphors and madness. Here's some of the things that people say, logical people say. They say, I can't get over what you just said. Now, if you think about that sentence, I can't get over what you just said, what are they trying to get over? The truth is, there's nothing to get over. There is no wall, there's no fence other than the one that we instantly in that moment create in our mind. And we become irrational, we become emotional. And as a result of that, we lose control and we get stuck. We get stuck in our lives in that moment. Um, you hear people say, you broke my heart. Again, there is no heart that broke, nothing broke, other than the feeling that you conjured in your mind in that moment. So if you broke anything, you broke your mind, to some degree. You hear people say, I'm sick of pushing shit uphill. I'm sick and tired of pushing shit uphill. The truth is, you're not Sisyphus. There is no boulder, there is no hill. Though your story, if you keep telling yourself that same story over and over again, it's going to tire you out. These are the metaphors that erode confidence. And the source of those metaphors come from experiences that we experienced in our past that are still in our brain. Let me give you another example of this. And I love coaching and training because you coach, you learn a whole bunch of things, you can share it in your training. Again, I'm going back to the gentleman that I was coaching today with depression. He basically, his big problem is that he had some trauma when he was, and we went back to when he was 5 years old. He had some trauma at 5. That trauma stunted his emotional maturity. He is a man of around 35 years old that is locked in the maturity of his emotions at 5. So, in other words, he's a 35-year-old man working with 5-year emotions, emotions that have only matured to 5. So that's how we keep coming out with all these metaphors. We're actually often coming from a much more immature part of us. And that immature part of us is actually creating all of the muck that we're creating and all the mess in our lives. So you hear people say, I'm so sick and tired of this bullshit game. Well, you're not sick and you're not tired, though you keep saying that and you soon will be. Again, we hear adults, mature, intelligent adults coming out with metaphors and madness that is literally driving us insane to some degree. This is hard. It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack. Well, there is no needle, there is no haystack. Why believe something that you haven't yet done is hard or is going to be hard when it's not yet? But if you believe it, you'll make it true. So the thing that we have to understand with metaphors and madness is that confidence is present really when you want to achieve something. You want to achieve something, create a strategy, make a plan, and go for it. Just go for it. Do the steps. Do whatever you really have to do. Confidence means that you get what you aim for. Whatever it is you're aiming for, just go for it. Plan it out and go for it. But the truth is that a lot of people don't go for their goals because there is a metaphor in their way. There is a mindset in their way. So, for example, but instead they believe there's a barrier between them and their dream, and they stop. They stop chasing their dreams, or they stop dreaming altogether. One of the saddest things I see these days is, particularly in coaching, because you're starting off talking about all the terrible stuff that's going on in people's lives, and then you're building a plan to help all those terrible things to go and the real person to shine. So you hear a lot of things that people are telling themselves in their mind, and you don't judge them as a coach. You're there to help and nurture and create the mindset to really help that person to evolve. So the thing that we have to understand is that these metaphors are actually real in your client's mind's eye. So, a battle outside, we have to understand, comes from a battle inside. It really, your outer world really reflects your inner world. And, as a trainer, as an author, as a speaker, as a coach, this is my message. I really want people to get this, that whatever is happening out here is happening because of what people are doing in here. Sometimes people can have all the skills, all the value, everything they need, but what is actually going on is they have a belief system that must be true. And if it's true, therefore they can't progress because their belief system says they're going to fail, or they're not going to succeed, or this terrible tragedy is going to occur if they progress. So they don't, because fear happens. But it also happens from our languaging. And I know I'm going back to languaging because the origin of our behavior and who we are and who we become comes from our mind, which conjures the words. Now, I was actually going to write a book about this, and the book was going to be about the language that we speak of, and I call them war words. You hear mature adults that speak like this. They shoot from the hip. That's war language. Why shoot? They take a stab at it. Why stab something, someone? I'll bite the bullet. Why would you bite a bullet? That's a bit overkill. Why would you want to overkill? You bombed. Roll with the punches. He was blown away. Just meet the deadline. Why is it called a deadline? Why has something got to be dead when you breathe life into it? Take a shot in the dark. Shoot me an email. Pick your battles. War in your language is like war in your mind. This happens in many corporate cultures. A lot of my clients will say to me that I hate working in the corporate space. And the reason is that many corporate environments create war zones. And it happens through much of their languaging. But the question is, it's the origin of their belief systems that actually build these words. And so people are fighting. One department fights with another department. One person is a sniper trying to take out, their competition. And, this is why people, your work zones need to change, and humanity will be a better humanity as a result. I really believe that. So to be more confident, what you've first got to do is you've got to wake up to your own language, your metaphors, and your illusions. So the only way to do that is to learn how to be more conscious. And what we call that in NLP or coaching is we call it metacognition. It's becoming aware of the words that come out of our mouths and the origins of those words, and knowing why we speak like that. So, you are the easiest person to fool, said Richard Feynman. Now, he won a Nobel Prize for physics in his reworking of quantum electrodynamics. And he's right. What we do is we fool ourselves all the time, and we fool ourselves with our metaphors. We're telling ourselves stories that are not even true, but we're working as if we believe them. So, humans at the end of the day, we actually prefer our biases over new information or truth. So instead of going to the inconvenient truth, we're going to a reassuring lie. And I love this little cartoon because it really summarizes what I'm really saying here. So that's how we get stuck in the past. Our language keeps us stuck in the past. Our metaphors keep us stuck in the past. Our mindset and all the memories that we have sometimes don't allow our emotions to mature. So when we look at confidence and its killers, I want to now talk about the 4 things that really erode confidence. These are the things that I would be looking to get out of my life if you feel that your confidence has waned. So, number 4, and this has been through, as I say earlier, through our research over 20 years of coaching and teaching NLP and, basically doing talks and writing books, that number 4 is gender, race, and sexual orientation. And number 3 is bullying, harassment, and humiliation. Now, all of these things are still happening in the corporate culture, happening in our schools, happening in our families. Number 2 is parenting style. Now, the sad thing about humanity is we go to school to learn, but we're never actually taught how to learn, weirdly. And we are never ever taught to do the biggest job we're going to do in our lives, which is parenting. We are never taught how to actually raise our kids, how to raise confident kids, how to raise kids that are free and can create and build beautiful opportunities. But the number one is trauma. And much of that trauma actually links to number two or number three or number four. So these are the top four confidence killers. So when we look at number four, gender, race, and sexual orientation, it's really about, do you belong? Do you belong to a family, a tribe? So lots of studies have actually shown that sadly, women tend to worry a lot more about how they're perceived. Culturally, they're actually taught to worry about how they look. And, advertising definitely has done a lot of damage in that space, but also social perceptions and beliefs of culture have perpetuated that. So one of the things that takes away our confidence tends to be our belonging. Do we actually belong in a tribe? So here's one thing to do: aim to ensure that you have tribes, that you have a healthy family culture, that you have a healthy family or friend group, that you have a healthy group at work, or in your business that really means that you belong. And that will help to build your actual confidence. Number three is bullying, harassment, and humiliation. And that's really about, are you accepted? So the first is, do you belong? But are you actually accepted within that tribe? So bullying, oh my God, that's a biggie. Quite often in my coaching, we're often undoing a lot of bullying, and the sort of damage that that can create, because bullying and being hurt or hit or harassed just tends to mean that you're not accepted in your tribe. And this also happens in the realm, in the family, of divorces, and how much that can kind of take away confidence massively. Quite often, I have seen people go through divorces and their career just goes brrr, and they fall down the ladder or they lose their job, because of that they don't belong anymore in a family and they're not accepted by their family. So those, bottom two can have a massive impact. Parenting style. Were you compared? Now, this is something in parenting where actually earlier this week I was coaching someone who said that their biggest issue that was living in their, inside of them, in their mindset, was that their family used to compare them to somebody else. They say, you're not as smart as, or you're not as clever as, or you're not as good looking as. And this can be a massive problem. So basically, what can happen here is, if we're belittled or made to feel foolish, or we've got basically any sort of level of comparison where your family, who should be your greatest champions, are saying that you're not as good as. So parenting style can totally take away confidence. And the number one is trauma. Were you abused? Now, physical, sexual, and emotional abuse can definitely significantly affect our feelings of self-worth, but more so if you keep replaying those memories or you're ashamed of your experiences, these completely erode confidence, and confidence can diminish dramatically. So, if confidence is a feeling, are our senses honest? Do our senses give us honest calibration of our feelings? And my answer to that is no. So what I want you to do, like, if you're in a place that you can do this and you're not in a, people can, not in an office and lots of people can see you, But just imagine you're doing exactly what this girl is doing. So if you mirrored her exactly, you put your fingers out like that, you brought your elbows in, and you kind of splayed them out a little bit, and then you opened your mouth and you held that posture for a period of time. What you're going to do is your physiology is actually going to change your psychology. So just changing your physiology can actually change your psychology. So, in the question, are your senses honest? No, they're not, because you can change them quite dramatically just by changing your posture. Now, I don't want you to do this, but just imagine if you did. If you basically put your head down and you held your head and you put it down posturally, if you stayed there, what's going to happen is you're going to start to feel down. So if you take your posture down, that's actually going to take your feelings down. And at best, you're going to feel tired or sleepy. At worst, you're going to start remembering times in your life that weren't so good. Because the thing to understand here is that all memories are state based. So all your memories are state based. In other words, what you are feeling is going to determine what you're thinking. So you can actually change your feelings just simply by changing your physiology. So we can literally trick our brain. So when we think about doing something, what typically happens when we look at confidence, the first thing we have to understand is that if you don't believe you have confidence, typically you won't take that first step. You'll imagine in your metaphors, in your imagination, you'll imagine that the steps are precarious, or dangerous. And so when we think about it, the very first piece that most people believe confidence is belief. You've got to believe that there's possibility. Then the next that a lot of people believe is that you've got to have the talent to even take that step. Don't take that step if you're not talented enough. But you've also got to have skills. You actually have to have competencies. And if you don't have talent or skills or the belief, definitely don't take that first step. And if you're not recognized, like if people don't go, hey, you can totally do this. I believe you have the talent, the skills, and the belief. Go for it. Well, then people won't take that step to success. So this is why logical, intelligent people, and all the people I coach and teach are intelligent, logical, and have, an incredible intellectual capacity. And they're befuddled. They go, Rick, I don't know why I'm not doing it. You know, I think I have the skills. I think I have the talent. Excuse me. I think I have the recognition, but I'm just not doing it. And it's because consciously or unconsciously, external is what most people think confidence is. They think you've got to have the talent, the skills, the recognition, and that will get you the success. But the truth is, you don't get talent, skills, or even recognition if you don't take the steps. So all of these things come after confidence. Confidence comes before, it doesn't come after. So upon modeling confidence, I found that the steps to get there are actually quite different to what most people believe. That first step of belief, actually, sorry, I've got to have a glass of water. Thank you. So let me continue. So the very first step is not a belief, it's a convenient belief. It's choosing to believe that if you take these steps, you will get what you want as a result. So that means that you've got to conjure in your mind a faith of some level. Then you've got to create a useful state, an actual physiology, a useful state, a useful feeling that says, okay, I can do this. And it may, in fact, require some useful words, not some terrible metaphors that are going to usurp you. And appropriate posture. You've got to be able to get your physicality in the right space, not punched and withdrawing. You've got to expand. A really good YouTube, by the way, is Amanda Cuddy, power poses, and she talks a lot about this. Basically putting your arms out like that, getting your physiology in the appropriate way so that you can trick your brain into actually doing that you wish to do. And the big step is cleared psychology. And what I mean by cleared psychology is getting rid of the inner self-talk that says I can't, getting rid of all the decisions and beliefs and patterns and the past that says that, you're going to fail, and clearing that psychology, getting it out of the game, out of the picture, so that you can get success. And then when you get success, you get new belief. So you really get belief at the end, and you get a solid belief, but you start with a convenient belief. So in essence, a lot of people completely get confidence wrong. So focus on the inner game and all the inner workings, not the external game. Stop judging yourself upon all the things you don't have in your life from a, material standpoint, for example, or jobs and, kudos and awards and all of those sorts of things. So the cleared psychology piece is really the underpinning of most of what you have to do. It's the biggest game that you got to play if you want to play the game of confidence. So when we look at a convenient belief, some people really call this faith, and other people call this courage. And when I wrote Raw Courage, one big message that I really wanted to put forward in that book was that courage actually comes when you train your brain to move through fear. So, in other words, fear has to be present in order for courage to come. You can't get courage any other way. You actually have to be scared. And when you're scared, but you move forward anyway, what happens as a result is you build your courage muscle. So do what you're afraid to do. Do the thing that scares you most. The people who are the scaredest and act anyway are all those people you admire who are super successful. They've just been more scared than you, but you might have avoided being scared, and that's kept you scared all your life. Whereas successful people are scared, but not scared to keep moving, even though they're scared. I hope that makes sense, not just intellectually. I hope you apply this after this webinar, that you go, right, that's it. I'm going to do what I'm scared of, and I'm going to go for it. Yeah. If you do that, you're going to find that you're going to build a courage muscle, and your confidence will really start to swell and form, and you will be able to create the sort of life that you have only ever dreamed of. So the next thing is useful state. Now, a useful state, what I mean by that is how you feel can actually influence how you think. So create the feeling that you want to think like. So here you can change your emotional state by choosing a useful state and recalling another time you felt it and anchoring that feeling. Now, some of you might not be NLP trained. I know I saw many names that are all NLP trained. And so if you're not NLP trained, the thing that I'm talking about here is that the way to create a state in your body is all you simply do is remember another time that you felt that, another time you felt that feeling, and just close your eyes and recall it. And so your brain is going to have to experience that thought. So if you're now recalling a time in your life that you were really courageous or unstoppable or confident, then your brain is going to have to feel that. So that can be a really good way to create a useful state. And then what you do is clap your hands or click your fingers or make a fist or do something to remember that feeling. And that's what we technically call in NLP anchoring. And anchoring is a really great tool to be able to deliver confidence. So I've shown you how that works. So next thing to consider is appropriate posture. So basically measure your confidence right now, just right now, however you are thinking, feeling right now, measure your confidence from 0 to 100. Just don't think about it. Just give yourself a number. Now, you might not be 100 and you might not be 0 either. So you're probably somewhere in between. So just give yourself a number and measure your confidence. Okay, next thing to do. Now what I want you to do is lift your sternum. So lift your sternum and lift your chin slightly. So lift your sternum and lift your chin slightly. Straighten your back and give yourself a new number. Remeasure yourself. And you should have increased. So you should have increased a little bit. So I'm just going to put it into the chat. If your number has increased, so I want you to put your original number and put your new number. So I've just got the chat open. So feel free to just put what was your original number and where did you go to? So I just like to see a couple of numbers. So, okay, from 80 to 89 to 100, 70 to 75, 60 to 70, 60 to 80, 85 to 90, 65 to 80, 50 to 70, 80 to 85. I'm trying to count as quick as I can. 80 to 90, 70 to 90, 65 to 80, 60 to 80. Every single one of you increased. Every single 47 to 88. Good on you, Scarlett. So there are some good increases there. So thank you, folks. And we've got 60 to 80, 60 to 80. Cool. Rita and Mark, awesome. So, and Michelle, 60 to 80. That's excellent. So I'm just going to close the chat. So thank you very much, folks. So what that does is that tells you that just shifting your posture. Here's a challenge for you. After this webinar, as you're walking down the street or as you're walking through the office or wherever you are, every now and then when you feel your energy go down, just lift your sternum, lift your chin just a bit. If you lift it too high, you'll feel arrogant and you don't want to feel arrogant. So just lift your chin a little, lift your sternum a little, and it will lift your feelings of self. So that's appropriate posture. And thank you, everyone, for your wonderful numbers. So the next thing is and we've done this. So let's go to the next, the cleared psychology. So cleared psychology is that most people either lost confidence at school or when they entered into the workforce. That's where most people have lost their confidence. So it's where you made critical decisions about yourself. So better still, the thing to do here is untrain your brain. So you need coaching or untrain your brain. So if you have a coach, call them, call them today and go, I want to create an appointment and I want to get rid of every single critical decision that I ever made about myself in the negative that has eroded my confidence. And tell your coach that you want to get rid of all of that and clear that psychology and get yourself thinking in confident ways. For me personally, as I shared in the very beginning, I was not confident. I was depressed. I was anxious. I was frustrated. I was angry. I had all of these emotions. So I got my coach to clear all those. And as a result, that's when my confidence soared. So that is the biggest piece. That's the piece that's going to make the biggest difference. So that's when you get to your level of success. That's when you get your new belief in yourself. And, so over the years, I've coached superstars, executive, elite athletes, and they all need coaching. All elite athletes have a coach, every single one of them, because they know they can't rely just on themselves. They need a new, fresh pair of eyes, some new perceptions, some new distinctions. So most successful people have a coach. So when you remove trauma and negative noise, you raise your self-belief. And with self-belief comes confidence. And with confidence, anything is possible. So this lovely man, Hector, he said that Rick helped me to more than double my income. He said my entire family have now done his programs and they're life-changing. Now, Hector, he, I'm not going to go into detail as to what I worked on with Hector at all, because that's personal and private, but he basically doubled his income once his confidence got to peak. Now, this lovely lady, I think she actually has come on today, and she's doing incredible work now. She said that she was depressed, she was anxious. She said, I could barely get out of bed. The only way forward was to end my life, which would have been a very sad thing for the world. Mum encouraged me to coach with Rick. My life changed completely from that point. Firstly, I'm alive and no more depression or anxiety, which plagued me for 20 years. Now, Rebecca is doing great work. She has now talk about taking your pain and turning it into your purpose. Rebecca is now doing amazing work. So if you're in South Australia, hook up with Rebecca. She's been doing some incredible work in helping people to get through depression and anxiety and helping them to be a great advocate for their lives and for others. And that's exactly what she's doing. This is what makes my life purpose come together. It's working with people like Hector and Rebecca. Now, Vlad said Rick is a great coach and a genius in the mind space. Sure, I know a few things. He helped me to double my income. So, Vlad, it was actually his values that were really holding him down, and it really stopped his income potential. Now, all of these people, the sum total is their confidence. When their confidence flips, all sorts of possibilities begin to open up. Here's another lovely lady. Samantha is her name. She said, innovation is critical to our organization, yet we measured innovation at a paltry 8%. We asked Life Beyond Limits to help change our team's mindset, and they went well beyond the brief. After their training, we remeasured at a staggering 77%. So they went from 8% innovation right up to 77% innovation. And that came from building a training to foster confidence in their team. And once they hit that level of confidence, all of a sudden their results just totally skyrocketed and peaked. So, now, by the way, this wasn't just me. This was me and my team that went in there to train to really make that difference. So confidence at the end of the day, it comes in many, many forms. So over the years, we've helped lots of people create lots of opportunities in their lives. But the confidence piece is the key. And that's why I wanted to do this webinar today. Now, here's a guy who actually he scaled Everest in his undies. So if someone else has done it, I can do it too. If no one has, then I can be the first. And that's a quote by Soraya. So the thing is that if anyone has done it, it just does mean that you can do it too. So what I'm going to say is a huge thank you for staying to the end. I'll make sure that our team email you all of the slides so you get what I promised at the very beginning. So you'll have your notes. You'll also have your slides. I highly recommend you maybe even re-go through this. I think our team have set this to actually record. So I'll also send you the record, and I'll take questions in just a moment. So here's how also to claim your $3,000 training or coaching or gift voucher. So what you do is basically your gift vouchers can be used for any of these 4 products and also for any corporate training you want. So yeah, we're even giving this to the commercial space. If you want to use your $3,000 for corporate training, we are more than happy to do that. So if you want to remove your past trauma and improve your positive psychology, I recommend these programs. If you want to remove fear and boost your confidence, I recommend our speaker training program, which actually starts, I think, next week. If you want to get personal attention to remove fear, trauma, and boost confidence in a confidential space, then I recommend coaching. So these are how it works out. So the life coach is 5960. You take your 3,000 off, it's 2960, or 12 payments for 277. That's if you want to use it for that. These are all the numbers for each of these programs and what you do if you want to use your $3,000 for any of these programs. So in essence, basically, if you want coaching, you take your $3,000 off the 12-month coaching program, which leaves it at $4,000. For speaker training, it brings it down to 3,460 or 12 payments of 327. I'm sure you get the idea. What I'll do is I'll make sure I send these to you. We're going to keep this $3,000 there for you all through September up to the end of September. So it's there for you if you want to use it. If you want to lose it, that's okay too. I hope you've gotten a lot of value from what I've shared. So when you do the inner work, confidence arrives, and with confidence, anything is possible. So to claim your 3,000, I've also got a link if you want to actually make a time with me to talk about it and go, look, I'm not sure where I'd like to use my 3,000. You can scan that code and that will immediately take you to my diary, and I will talk with you, or at least one of our team will talk with you and find out what's going to be the best use of your $3,000 gift voucher. So you just scan the QR code with your phone, it'll automatically take you there. I promise I'll send you these links as well. So thank you so much for sharing today with me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop share, and I'm going to, anyone who has any questions, do feel free to pop them in the chat, and I'll answer them. So I've got a hand up from Patrick, I think it is. Yes, Patrick. So Patrick, is there a question that you really want answered? Feel free to put it in the chat. So thank you so much. If you don't have any questions, feel free. I'm going to end it fairly soon. So feel free to head off and get back into your working day. Thank you for joining me for a lunch and learn. I promise I will do more of these. I've been a bit scant at doing these, but I will promise to do more of these. And I aim to go deep and give you a lot of really good information. So I hope this has been valuable. And doesn't look like there's any questions. So that's excellent. So thank you for joining me. I hope you take this advice, and I hope you use it in your day. When you're confident, you bring out the best of you. and you're going to do great things for the great people around you. So thank you so much for sharing this moment with me and going through to becoming super confident. My name is Rick Schnabel, and thank you. So bye for now, and I'll see you in the next webinar, and I promise that I'll get all these things to you.